those aspects of creation we have. That's free will. We have choice. And, and we're caused to make that choice every single day of our lives. Every single day we have to choose whether we're going to do things that are in submission to God's will, or do things according to societal norms, or do things according to what our friends and acquaintances or families are, encouraging us to do or have taught us to do. Because in everybody's life, at some point, you get your intellect should begin to operate on its own without the outside, and you begin to evaluate to see what it is that seems good to you and what seems bad to you and what seems like what you will choose and what you will not choose, whether it's related to people, food, location, situations, jobs, whatever. You are making choices. So every day we're called to make this choice of whether we're going to do things according to the laws of God, or whether we're just going to let the laws of the society and the laws, not even laws, but the influence of other people decide what we're going to be and do. So but it is submission to the laws of God and the way of God that creates stability, internally and externally. And that's something, it's like you gotta sort of think on it. And in each of us, we have to have inner stability, right? Peace innerly in our thoughts and our systems. When your system is in turmoil, you might have heartburn, upset stomach, your diabetes, your blood pressure, whatever. That's when your system is not stable. It's not working like it should work. Externally, you need that stability. You don't want chaos. So I do say there are people that function in chaos. There are some people that function in chaos. I say, and you can be a little forgive me, but I say Arabs function in chaos. It's like, it just seems like the more chaos it is, the better they feel. It's like, I'm trying to create order, or we're trying to create order, and it's like, no, we don't want rules and stuff. We don't want to follow them. But anyway, there are people that function in chaos. There are some people that like it. There are some people that try to create it. But it's order. The universal way is order. What Allah has created, He created in order. And you just look at how things function. And they're on cycles, they're on regular cycles. Day and night, and the seasons change, and the oceans have their way, and there's order. If there wasn't order, we wouldn't still be in this solar system. We'd be some other there in space somewhere, right? There's order. And so order is the natural law. And that's what, we should be seeking to function on the natural law, because that's what creation is. So, when silm, which is really Islam, and Islam again means submission, when that's operating, then you have a stable and a stable environment. You have it in yourself. When you submit to the laws of God, you have inner stability. And when you're in a situation where people are in that state, when they are trying to submit, you have stability and order and peace around you. It's when you don't have it that you're So each one of us has a character, a general character, and each one of us has a specific character. And that can be in terms of the whole universe is created to be in a state of submission to God. So each of us, everything in the universe has that as a general characteristic. And out of all the things that God has created, that Allah has created, you have the plants, the animals, the insects, the birds, humans and jinn and all of that. You have all of these things. And each one of them has their own characteristics. And then you can get down to individuals. And each of us, though we're human beings, we each have individual characteristics. That's what makes me, and you. That's individual. So, this is for our we have our general self and we have our specific self. Okay. So what is general about us in terms of us being people? That Allah says in Surah 30, He says, "Faqim wajhaka lideen hanif." Set your face to the deen being rightly guided, meaning come away from wrong, get on a right path, be rightly guided. فطرة الله التي فطر الناس عليها, a nature, a pattern on which your Lord, Allah, has brought you into existence. We came into this world on a pattern. People call that our basic nature. And sometimes you may have to stop and think, what is my nature? What is my basic, what is the foundation of my existence? What is my basic nature? Because what it says, what he has brought the human being, or all humanity into existence on, and don't make changes in this creation. So we have a pattern, we have this basic nature, and when we're functioning on our real natural patterns, then we are healthy. And that is spiritually and physically and intellectually. Our minds are okay, our bodies are okay, and our spirit, our soul is okay. Because we're on the pattern that God intended us to be on. We're on that natural way. And when we don't, when we're not on it, we have inner chaos where we can't be at peace. We can have mental confusion, and we have spiritual disconnection more than anything, that we don't even possibly feel like we need to worship, because we're just disconnected. And you see many people. You start talking about spiritual stuff, they don't want to hear it. They're ready to get away from you. Talk about going to some place to worship, they got something else to do, they don't have time, they just don't want to address that at all. It's almost like, they either like it's crazy, or they think it's gonna make them, something that they don't want to do. But when we defined stability last time, we said that it's something that when you're in a stable condition, you don't have fundamental or noticeable change. You're staying a certain way. That's what's stable. And what that does is it makes you feel secure. It makes you feel safe. It makes you feel confident and have that inner peace. But how can you tell? And what are things that you can do to test yourself to see if you are, if what you're doing is according to your nature, according to the way that Allah or God wants you to be. We have the ability to study ourselves, and in fact we should. We have the ability to question ourselves, to ask ourselves, to talk to ourselves. Some people say, don't talk to yourself because that's insanity. Well, sometimes you might be the only intelligent person in the universe. But if we don't think within ourselves and ask ourselves questions about ourselves, and be honest even in what we're asking and answering about ourselves, we can be very misguided. If our only concept of ourselves is what comes back to us from other people, that can really be not honest. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it's really not. Because a lot of times people are critical of you because they don't like you. What they really don't like is themselves, but they're jealous of you, or that thing of wanting to put you down so that they can feel better. That kind of thing. So a lot of times the information that you're getting from yourself, from the outside. And so when you do get it, the first thing to say is, first of all, I'll be honest with myself. Is what they're saying true? And ask yourself, am I mean? Am I ugly? Am I dumb? Am I this? Am I this? Ask yourself and be honest with yourself. First of all, am I dumb? No, because Allah, God, did not create stupid people. Every human being has intellect. Am I not acting properly? Ask yourself. And if it's something that you're honest with yourself about, then you can correct that and try to get more on your pattern, on your nature. And so that you can get peace with yourself. But if you only, listen to what everybody else says, then they can have you feeling totally upset and discontent with yourself. And maybe there's no reason. But be honest with yourself first. Yeah. And if you have a person that's constantly criticizing you, and you have determined that something is wrong, because I don't see that in myself, and I don't feel that in myself, and that person keeps trying to bring me down, see if you can get away from them. You know?
That is truly my life story. Always. People always try to, interject actually themselves or reason.
Which is a common thing.
It makes me feel inadequate. And, I've come a long way, 40 years, long way. I'm sorry.
Right, but what that can do to you if you absorb it is you begin to think that way about yourself and actually can begin acting in the description that somebody else put on you.
That's what I'm saying. Even growing up, I was always told these certain things. And then, when the law brings you back around, you're like, this is not me at all. You're this, you're that. That's not me at all. Not even by far.
I think it's a little hard sometimes though, and I guess everything depends on the individual because, we're all different. Some people are really strong and sturdy and they're hearing it and they never accept it, and they're like, well, that person's just a liar, that person's just mean, and I'm not going to listen to any of that stuff. But they're not saying anything, they're just putting up that wall, like, okay, it can stop right here, but I'm not going to absorb it. And they're living, and they're just, it's all out here, but for some people, they're softer, they're more vulnerable, they're more sensitive, and it's coming in, and it is hurting, and it's, and it's making them think low about themselves, it's giving them a low sense of self-esteem. And that's how they go out in the world. Some people go out, phew, I'm glad I got away from that, because, that's sure, I know I wasn't that. And other people go out and think that they are exactly that person that they've been told that they were all that time, I mean, you hear really sad stories all the time. I heard of one recently where, and people do things mostly because of who they are, not because of who you are. Mostly, I mean, sometimes, we do draw, but a lot of times people are acting out their own emotion and their own bad feelings, and they're acting it on someone else. This one mother, she would get in bad relationships, boyfriends or whatever. And when she would get treated bad, then she would take it out on her kids. So one of the girls, she used to beat her a lot, and the girl never said anything. She said, her sister was telling me this, she said, my sister would just harden herself and just let my mother beat on her, and she really beat on her, and she said, and she would be crying, but she never screamed or yelled or tried to get away or anything. She would just harden herself and just let her mother beat on her. But what that did to her was it created a hatred for her mother, for one thing, and then a insecurity within herself. Like, what's wrong with me that I would be treated that way by my own mother? And she became a drinker. She became an alcoholic. She became one who got in an abusive relationship herself. Because that was her life, and that was what she knew.
That's what she knew.
Yeah, that's what she knew, and that's what she ended up in. And her mother now is dead, and she still hates her mother. And her mother's been dead for a couple of years. And to this day, she's hating her mother, and she's still drinking. So she never came out of that, and still does, and she doesn't understand. Her mother was reacting to something. It wasn't that her mother disliked her so much. Her mother really disliked the way she was being treated herself. But not being able, having the strength to do anything about how she was being treated, she took that anger and abuse that she was getting and took it and put it on to her children by abusing her children. And it's very sad because it has created a woman who is now quite a mature woman. I think she's close to 50 years old, who has never been able to function properly, and still is handicapped emotionally. Not physical, but handicapped emotionally. And there's a number of, these situations. So, you have to begin to know yourself, who you are, so that you don't tolerate it. Because this is the younger sister who was telling me this. The younger sister said, my mother would have beaten me too. She said, but when she tried to beat me, I grabbed her arms and said, you are not going to do this to me. You see what I'm talking about? How people are different? Look how one took it and reacted, and it's crippled her life. And this other one said, I grabbed her arms and I told her, you will not beat me like that, and if you try, I'm going to fight you back. The other one, and so it didn't, so she was able now to have compassion for her, because now she's in her 40s, she's almost mid-40s, and the other one is older. The older one is crippled, this younger one is functioning. You know, she's a parent, she's doing okay. And in trying to help her daughters be, you know, good people. She has 2 girls. So you have to know something about yourself. And what was the difference? One of them sort of accepted, I guess I deserve it. Not so much I deserve it, but I should accept this beating. And the other one saying, I shouldn't take this. I don't deserve it, and I'm not going to take it. You get this? But you have to know something about yourself. And the truth is, neither of them deserved it. Neither of them should have taken it. But one is confident that I shouldn't be treated like this, and the other one is just and not doing anything to fight back. So you have to know yourself, and because we are divine creations, and understanding who we are, being divine beings, helps us to understand who we're supposed, that Allah, God, a divine person, created us, that we have honor and dignity, and we have the right to be respected and honored. So if we know that, and that helps us also to know something about our Lord, that when we study ourselves, we get and understand that we are created by a divine being, and we therefore are results of divine creation. We get intellectually aware and have a spiritual desire, and this helps to create hope in our systems, physically and mentally and spiritually on all levels. So there are laws that govern us, who we are, how we should function, and what levels of functioning and ways that we function that keep us in a good condition. So some of these laws, and so and I want to just start on, and maybe we'll get through one or maybe 2 minutes anyway. When we have disease, and this is a quote from a book I'm going to read it exactly as it is. Disease is an effect of nature, well, an effort of nature, to free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. Now, disease, there's mental disease, right? There's spiritual disease, there's physical disease. So it says disease is an effort of nature to free our system from a condition that results from a violation of the laws. Violation of the laws. What are the laws of health? And what are the laws based on? Okay, any law that is going to create health in the human body has to be based on the divine reality. The divine reality, because we are creations, we are divine creations. We are created from a supreme being. So any law that's going to create health has to honor and recognize that. So I can email this to you. This is actually on a PowerPoint. If anybody wants it. We have that charity. We've been brought into this. So we have 3 major levels or areas of our existence. That is our spiritual self, our mental and intellectual self, and our physical self. So, and all of these are given to us by that one Creator. And he gave us all of this into, in this oneness that is ourself. Okay, so it says, and that's in the Quran, it's in Surah 40, and it says, هو الذي خلقكم من تراب. He created you from dirt, dust. Turab. خلقكم من تراب ثم من نطفة, and the nutfah is when you mix the water with the earth to make it clay that can be shaped. This is the foundation of our existence. we're earth and water. Then from this clot. So we have this mixture, and the clot is the embryo that starts to form inside the mothers as we develop. Then he brings you out as an infant. So then after that develops and all that happens inside of the womb, then we come out as human beings. Okay? وهو الذي أنشأكم brought you into existence. He gave you hearing and sight and hearing accident. Sanaya. So then you get senses. The ability to see and hear and feel with someone else. You have your senses. And all of this again is still in you. So you have your physical self, your emotional, sensitive self. You have also, it says, when I have you breathe into him of my root. So you have this root, this soul that is the spirit that gives you the spiritual aspect. And you give you purpose. All of us have the same basic purpose, and that is the ibadah or the worship of the one and creator. Everything, not just humans, but everything that is created has that purpose of worshiping the one who created. Plants and trees and animals, all everything. So we have this holistic nature that we are not just physical beings. And we have to keep reminding ourselves of that because there are laws that govern all of us. And these aspects of ourselves have to be given attention so that we stay healthy. Because if we think that we can just go out here and act in this world as physical beings, just because that's what we think we look like just a physical being. If you look at somebody, they look like just a physical being. I mean, cats and walking around and, you know, you might see something else walking on 2 feet, like gorillas or whatever might walk on 2 feet sometimes.